Hello, hello, hello. So the machine tells me I'm live. So I'm going to believe it for now. Can you? I know I ask this every week, but would someone please be a brave soul and just type for me a hello so that I know that you can actually hear me? So just a hi, Gigi, how you doing? Or, oh, Gigi, your hair looks a mess today. Or whatever it is. Or, Gigi, I love your specs. They're so cool. Whatever you like, but please just send me a little message so I know that you can hear me. There's been some weird things going on with YouTube. So it'd be good to know that you can hear me. So please, somebody, anybody? All right. Okay. Phew. You spotted that bite bitten, did you? Do you know what? I do this twice a week, every week. So sometimes I feel I just need to change things up just a little bit. So I just thought I'd add that in. And I think I'm going to, from now on, come up with different versions of Gigi just to entertain myself for every one of these sessions. So if anybody has a suggestion of what else Gigi might be called, be polite now. No Rudy Poodies. I can add that to a backlog. Look, I'm in this room by myself most of the day. I have to find some way to entertain myself. Right. So as always, we have to wait a little bit of time for everyone to show up. So I like to ask people to introduce themselves and tell me where they are coming from. Just a little note for today. Please do introduce yourselves and let me know where you're coming from. I might be able to guess, but my memory at the moment is all a bit. Anyway, so I want you to know that I am wearing this particular shade of lipstick because a very charming gentleman called Steve yesterday commented on one of my videos that he didn't like my lipstick shade. So in honor of Steve, I thought I would just wear it again. And Steve, if you are here today, I think you're on the wrong YouTube channel because this YouTube channel is definitely not about makeup. Definitely about Amazon interviewing. So if you would like to comment on somebody's lipstick, wrong channel, dude. Anyway, so you know me, I have to make that point, right? I don't take it lying down. So hello, tell me where you're from. We've got Bite Bitten who's back. Awesome, lovely to see you. We've got B Cone. The Water Parrot is back as well. Andy, afternoon. So you're obviously a few hours behind me. So I'm guessing you're in the US somewhere. Gursev, hello, welcome back. Gursev, are you in the UK? I seem to remember that you might be in Manchester. Maybe that was somebody else, but anyway, okay. Hello, welcome. We've got Abby, welcome Abby, thank you for joining. And we've got, oh, there we go. Someone's let me know where they're from. So the Water Parrot is from Mexico. Excellent. Mexico, wonderful. I would love to go to Mexico. That's definitely on my bucket list of places I need to go. You like my lipstick, the Water Parrot? Thank you. Actually, I think it goes quite well with these glasses, so I'm quite proud of that. What else do we have? John's here. Hey, John. Lovely to see you. Good afternoon from California. Oh, Gustav, you're from Canada. I don't know why I thought you're from Manchester. Strange. Okay. Sorry about that. No offense. People from Manchester are lovely, so you should definitely be flattered that I thought you were Manx. All right. So who else have we got here? Say hello. Right. So, oh, Gursev. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. We can get into that a bit more a little bit later if you'd like. So why don't I do my introductions and then hopefully other people will show up. If you don't already know, which I'm sure you do because you're on my YouTube channel, but for those of you on playback who probably also know, but I'm going to do it anyway. I am Gigi. I am the Amazon interview whiz. I was a senior leader at Amazon for a number of years. Like everybody else in Amazon, I interviewed. I was, of course, a hiring manager. I had quite a large team, lucky me. And I was, most useful for you all, a bar raiser. So don't believe any of the other rubbish that you read online about bar raisers. Listen to me because I will tell you the truth and only the truth. So help me God. I'm about to cross myself, but I'm not a Catholic. My husband is, by the by. Okay, so Difference with a bar raiser, I'll very quickly cover this for you, is when you're a bar raiser, you get to interview across all job families, and you can do tech and non-tech. You tend to bias towards one or the other, but you can do any job family and you can do any country. So I interviewed people for dozens of different job families across many different countries around the globe. If you're a recruiter, let's say, you will usually only be interviewing people within your own area of recruitment. All recruiters work in a particular pocket, or you'll obviously interview other recruiters. If you're a hiring manager or if you're an interviewer, you'll usually only interview for people within your own particular skill set. Maybe one or two skill sets that dovetail with yours, but broadly speaking, you don't get a huge range of experience when it comes to different job types. As a bar raiser, the sky is the limit. So I have seen the Amazon interview process inside out, back to front, upside down, and even up their nose. I know what it takes to get hired at Amazon. I personally gave the go to hire hundreds of Amazonians over well over 1,000 worth of hours of interviewing. One thing I spotted whilst I was interviewing, that people who have expert Amazon interview coaching, unsurprisingly, do much better than those that don't. And then I looked into how much it costs, and it's not cheap. So I figured I could make it cheaper and more accessible by creating digital content. So I have here my totally free digital YouTube channel, where I think you can find probably the most specific, actionable, unrepeated, I hope, though that's getting trickier now, content on YouTube. I have my own Amazon Interviewers Academy, which is if you're in the Western Hemisphere anyway, a very affordable way of getting 10 hours of expert Amazon interview coaching. I'm on LinkedIn, although I've had a break from that over the past couple of weeks, and I work very hard to answer all of your questions. This session is part of my mission to make Amazon interview expertise accessible like mine, accessible to all. So you get to ask me any question that you want, and I will answer it. Some parameters around that is, if you have a very specific technical or question that is very specific to your particular role, I might not be able to answer it. There are, I don't know how many hundreds of job families in Amazon and many thousands of roles under those job families. No one human being can be an expert down to the nth degree of detail on all of those. So maybe I'm just not going to be able to answer your question, but if that's the case and you keep asking it, I will tell you. I am an expert on strategy. I am an expert at the process. I know it inside out and back to front, so I can definitely cover off all of those areas. What else to say? Please put your comments, questions in the side here. I will just try and pick ones that I think are the most useful for everybody. Before we start, I'm going to quickly ask you, please like the stream. Please like the stream. It makes a massive difference to the performance of my channel and the algorithm if people engage. So please like the stream, ask questions, and when you read my other content, please like it, put questions, comments in it. It makes a big difference to me. All right, so I think that's all I'm going to cover, other than to say, stay until the end. If you are a new viewer, there is an amazing freebie. I promise you, it's amazing freebie at the end of this session, which you will absolutely love. So stick around until the end for that freebie. With all of that now covered, I should have a list of all of the things I want to cover, but I seem to have forgotten to do that today. With all that covered, why don't we just get started? And I'm going to scroll back up to the top and see if I can find some questions that I can answer for you. I usually go for about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how many attendees we have. So let's see if we get lucky today. Right, scrolling. I will say hello to people as they arrive, because it's always polite. And we British, if we're anything, we try to be polite. Okay, so Pernia. So this is a very, very broad ranging question, and it's so broad that actually I cannot answer it for you, other than to say you answer the question around bias for action for non-tech jobs in exactly the same way that you answer bias for action questions for tech jobs, because it's totally agnostic as to whether you are tech or non-tech. So you need to read the leadership principle bias for action. You need to break it down to its component parts. I think bias for action maybe has 3 different nuances in it. I have created a learning model in my Amazon Interviewers Academy that's called Facets, where I break down the leadership principles into their different component parts. I think that one has 3 facets. You'll understand that more if you take the freebie at the end, by the way. That will make more sense to you. But really, really break it down. And then bias for action is all about just kind of taking risks and making decisions when you don't quite have all of the data, and just going and doing something when it needs doing rather than procrastinating. It doesn't matter whether it's tech or a non-tech. So Pernia, just go away, read the leadership principle description, and that tells you pretty much everything that you need to know if you really, really read it and really, really understand it. So that's how you answer it. And the specific questions of the specific answers will obviously depend on the specific question that you get. Mike's here. Hi, Mike. How are you doing? Nathan Young's back. Hey, Nathan. How you doing? Nice to see you back. Somebody who has a name with an accent over the U, which I know I will never get right. So I'm just going to say hello because I will just destroy the pronunciation of that name there. So, and I don't like doing that. It's embarrassing. Okay. Hey, but that's our trainer. How are you doing? Right. We got a question here now. So, oh, it's not a question. It's somebody who's got, it's Rach. Oh, Racheal, hello. Welcome back. Yes, I do remember you from previous sessions. So you got your offer. Congratulations. I love starting these sessions with offers. It just makes me so excited and energized. And there's a little dancey person going on there. So, oh, you are so, so welcome. I am absolutely delighted from you from Nigeria. Oh, one of my very, very good friends is from Nigeria as well. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Congratulations. I'm absolutely delighted for you. Have an amazing Amazon career. I am absolutely certain you will. And if you really want an incredible role, not that the role that you haven't got is incredible, but Prime Video are just about to launch a streaming service in Nigeria. So if you want to do something that's really exciting, I don't know if you're based in Nigeria, look at moving over there once you've done a year or two. They're amazing in Prime Video. Congratulations. I'm ridiculously excited for you. I'm so glad I was able to help. Okay, that's good. That sets me up well. That makes me feel engaged and excited. Quick one here. Yes, I absolutely can do that analysis for you. If you would like to go to the live. So I have two videos all about this. And if you would like me to do it for you, there is a link in the description of those videos where I provide a service for doing that. I do not yet have a plan to do another live session for deconstructing job descriptions, but when I do, I will be advertising it. So keep an eye out for it. Not sure when that will be at the moment, but if you'd like me to do it for you, I do offer a paid service. So go check out those videos and then you can click on a link in the description. Okay. Moving on then. Okay, salary negotiation. Cool. All right. So I do cover this. I cover this quite regularly in these sessions. So let me just do this quite quickly for you now. If you want a deeper dive, I think if you go back to some of my other lives and just check on the chapters, I definitely got a couple of those live sessions where I spent a good time talking about salary negotiation. But here's the top level for you. Amazon are much more comfortable to negotiate on RSUs than they are on base and sign-on bonus. Sorry, I don't know why my brain wasn't functioning there. They're much happier to negotiate on RSUs rather than base or sign-on bonus. So if you want to push back and negotiate, go for RSUs first. Second, then go for sign-on bonus. And then lastly, base. Base is the one that they are least willing to negotiate on. Effectively, know your value in the market. There are a couple of websites that you can use. They don't cover the entire globe, the ones I'm going to quote, but levels.fyi and payscale.com. You can do a search for your job title and your region, and they will tell you the market rate. I would be saying to your recruiter, this is the market rate between here and here. I'm expecting that your offer will land between those two places. When the offer comes back, and if you want to then push back, I'd say be very specific about what you want. Don't just say, I want more. Say, for year one, I would like 4 extra RSUs. For year 2, I would like 2 extra RSUs, etc. and etc. That's my biggest bit of advice. And have a view of at what point you're willing to say yes. The constant backwards and forwards is never particularly constructive or useful because you want to close the deal, you want to get the job. So have a plan in your mind. If they offer me this number, I will say yes, and then say yes. Otherwise, it all becomes a little bit sticky and ugly. So that's my tips for you. Again, I've gone into much more detail in previous lives, so please do go check those out. Okay. So there's some, okay. So I'm not going to go into, sorry, there's just someone asking me the same question a couple of times. So I did say I would tell you and I can't answer it for you. So I'm not going to go into particular job families and what you need to do for a particular job family. Number one, I don't know the deep detail of every single job family. There are many hundreds of them in Amazon. I couldn't tell you them off the top of my head. The other thing is that different jobs, different hiring managers want different things. So my key pointer of all of it is read your job description. Everything that you need to know about what your hiring manager is looking for in the key leadership principles is going to be in your job description. But outside of that, everything else that's on my channel is a key pointer that I would give to every single person applying, no matter what role they're applying for. Okay. What else do we have? Oh, Andy, right. So you've your loop tomorrow. Exciting. Congratulations. You've your examples prepared. The recruiter has hinted at the key LPs. That's useful. Everybody, if you can, ask your recruiter what the key LPs are. They may tell you, they may not. It's about a 50-50 chance, according to kind of my current experience. So you should ask because there's no harm in asking. And Andy has, and they've hinted, which is awesome. So aside from a good night's sleep, recommendation for the final hours of prep. I mean, Andy, it depends on what type of person you are. So I don't prep in the last couple of hours towards a big interview because by that time, if I don't know it, it's a bit like an exam. If I don't know it by then, I'm never going to know it. So I tend to just go and do something different. I go dance around my room or something like that, or go for a walk because I'm in a better place. So I think you're just going to have to choose for yourself, Andy, what your best strategy is for going into a stressful situation. Broadly speaking, just make sure you've got your stuff together. So if you're using notes and all of those things, just check them, check that you can actually read them, that they're eligible. Make sure you've got everything set up properly. Test your camera. You don't want any technical hitches. Just all of those kind of basic structural things is really what I would be doing in the last couple of hours, because if you haven't done the prep by then, you're never going to do the prep. So good luck, Andy. Fingers crossed for you. Okay. All right. So Mike, okay. So Amazon is at 1000% against saying no to the customer. However, what if your most difficult situation involves saying no to a customer because they wanted you to do something illegal? So Mike, Amazon is absolutely not 100% against saying no to the customer. That is a major misinterpretation of customer obsession. Customer obsession is all about making sure you do absolutely the right thing for your customer. Even if they don't agree with you that it's the right thing, your job as an Amazonian to be customer obsessed is to represent the very best interests of your customer in any circumstance. And if they don't align with you, doing your very best to help them see and use your expertise to understand the best and right pathway. So no, I don't agree with that statement whatsoever. And therefore, it's kind of hard to answer the second part of the question because the original premise is unfounded. So, if your customer is asking you to do something illegal, you do need to be careful, I think, with using that type of an example in an Amazon interview, because actually it's fraught with potholes that you could fall into. So yes, I say to people, have big examples, have impressive examples, but when it comes to things that are illegal, against anti-competitive, those things, that's kind of precarious territory. So unless you're in legal or that type of a space, actually, I'd be cautioning you against using that type of an example, because it can go in directions from a questioning point of view that you probably don't want it to go in. So that's my advice to you, Mike. The premise is incorrect, but I wouldn't recommend you talking about anything that's illegal. It's just, I don't think that's going to be good for you. Yeah. Okay. Abby Sawatch. Hello. Welcome. I don't recognize your name, so I'm assuming this is the first time you've been here. So Abby, where can you find some hot interview questions for second round? Well, you're not going to find interview questions for any particular round because the questions that Amazon has in the Amazon interview question bank are for all rounds, and the interviewer just picks the one they fancy, usually the one that they like, based on the leadership principle that they have been assigned. Where can you find them? I have an excellent blog on my website, which is www.theamazoninterviewwiz.com. There, I have an article in my interview guides section. If you just look on the navigation at the top, on the interview guides, click on that, and there's a whole bunch of blogs. There's a blog in there called AIQB, and I think you'll find that information very useful. I gathered that information from various websites around the internet. It was not information that I pulled in myself from my experience. I was able to find all of that information on various public websites. So go check that out, and I think you'll find it very useful. Okay. Right, so sorry, just checking for other questions. Okay, Cameron, what's an RSU? Good question. That was bad of me to assume that everybody knew that. Shame on Gigi. Okay, an RSU is restricted stock unit. It's basically shares. Basically shares. So your Amazon compensation is made up of 3 component parts: your sign-on bonus, your base salary, and then some stock options. That's what an RSU is. Apologies for assuming. You should never assume. Assuming makes an ass out of you and me. And I made an ass out of myself, so I apologize. Right, moving on. This is great. Ajeeth, this is wonderful. So there are so many companies that are better than the hype of FANG. You don't like Amazon anymore. It's overhyped in terms of salary and benefits. There are so many companies better than Amazon, overhyped. So I have to ask you, what are you doing here? Got something else you would rather do, or that might be more productive with your time? I'm confused. Anyway, so, hey, everyone's entitled to their opinion. There's lots of people who have incredible roles and incredible careers in all sorts of different organizations, and I wish you well with yours. Take care. Thank you for joining. Again, not quite sure why you did, but thank you for joining. Alrighty ho. Moving on then. Okay, Ashwin. Right, got it. So it's a 2-part question. Right. I read half of it up there and I was confused, but let me just find the first half of it. Right. So Ashwin, you had 2 questions. So you've had your interview for a senior PM, 2 interviews where you think your answers were slightly small in scope, and then jumping down to the bottom, will they look at it very critically? All my other answers showed complexity, I think. It's all about the balance, right? So they'll throw all of the information together into a big pot, if you like. I like kind of physical analogies. I'm a visual thinker. They'll just throw it all into a big pot and discuss the whole lot. So if overall, on balance, with some really complex examples and some less complex examples, they feel overall you demonstrated the complexity required for the role, you'll be fine. I can't give you kind of a binary, it has to be 3 out of 5 or anything like that. It doesn't work like that. But overall, if you give a sense of some complex and some less complex and balance, you should be fine. Okay, moving on then. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, Hugo. Right, Hugo. So you were told on Thursday night that the hiring manager wants to move forward with you and they just need to prepare the offer. Okay, I find it a little bit strange that it's the hiring manager wants to move forward you rather than the entire panel. But okay, I'm going to park that specifically. Maybe there's a kind of cross wires there. Can they rescind the offer once the recruiter says that someone has chosen you for a job? Can this verbal offer be rescinded? Of course. All verbal contracts can be rescinded. No verbal contract has any legal basis and would not stand up in court anywhere for any type of legal contract. So yes, an offer can be rescinded. Do I know that many offers get rescinded? No, it doesn't happen very often. I've maybe heard of 1 or 2 cases where actually the job itself disappeared and they had no choice but to rescind the offer. There have been other cases where Reference checks have not gone well for the candidate, and things have appeared that were not disclosed at the time of application, and offers were rescinded there. But generally speaking, offers don't get rescinded. But as with all contracts, you are not safe and it is not fixed until you've signed and they've signed. Okay. Let's move on then. I hope that was helpful. Okay. Mike, looks like you've got a few parts here. Okay, so let me just jump across in Mike's different parts. So, okay, so this is about Amazon UK. Okay, policy and process is the same everywhere in the world, but okay. So you've been told the final interview will be an on-site. Okay, physically on-site, question mark, but currently you're out of the country. Okay. What are your options? You don't mind traveling back for the interview, but it goes against the frugal principle. But since the role is for operations, you'd rather have it physical. Well, you kind of answered your own question there, Mike. If you would prefer to have it physical rather than virtual, then if you're out the country, wait till you get back. If you wait till you get back, obviously you run the risk of somebody else pipping you to the post, as it were, and potentially landing the role before you get a chance to interview for it. If you're happy to do a virtual interview, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do a virtual interview. I'd be very, very surprised if Amazon refused to let you do your interview virtually internationally. I've done that for Amazon loads of times where candidates haven't been in the country that they were applying for. And I did interviews with them when they were on holiday and various things. So it's up to you, really, Mike. Do you want to run the risk of someone else beating you to it and waiting until you get back? Or do you want to fly back? And then I don't know if I doubt Amazon will pay for you to fly back from your somewhere else, but maybe they will. I can't obviously state that at all. Or do it virtually. So many other interviews are being done virtually. I'm not personally convinced that the physical versus the virtual makes an enormous difference. It certainly never did to me, both as an interviewer and an interviewee. But Mike, at the end of the day, it's up to you. I hope that kind of helps. Okay. Oh, okay. Can you ask for additional vacation days in the initial negotiation? No, you can't. Amazon has very locked in policies about how much vacation is given to employees in the various countries that they work. That is not a point of negotiation in Amazon. Okay. What other questions do we have then here? Okay. Yeah, good question. Eunice, hello. So you have a panel interview for a supervisor role. The interview will be for 30 minutes with each of the interviewers. Yeah, okay, pretty standard. How many questions should you expect? How many questions should you do since there's 3 interviewers? You mean how many should you prepare for, I think. All right, so how many questions should you expect? So you've only got 30 minutes. So I would be surprised if your interviewers made it past 1 leadership principle, maybe 2 leadership principles. Now, it depends on the number of questions that you can expect is actually kind of much more dependent on how complex your examples are. The more complicated your examples are, obviously, the more time it takes to articulate them. So you've got a 30-minute interview, which is pretty short. So I would be, as a bar raiser, hoping that my interviewers on my panel could make it through 2 questions in 30 minutes, 1 per leadership principle. Now, that's obviously you've got like 5-minute hello at the beginning, 5 minutes question at the end. So that only leaves you with 20 minutes to answer questions. 2 questions, 10 minutes per question. That's quite a complex example. I'd probably be expecting 10 minutes from an L6 or above. So Eunice, I'd say 2 to 3. Again, there's no science here, people. Much depends on you and how complex and deep and detailed you go into your examples. If your examples are really simple and you don't give much detail, then you could end up being asked 7 questions, 8 questions. If your example is super juicy and meaty and really, really interesting and your interviewer is just fascinated, you could end up with 1 question. There's just no fixed set of rules here, unfortunately, but I'd say be prepared for 2 or 3 per interview, Eunice. And then at least if you've over-prepared, It doesn't matter. I did have someone say, I think it was on one of these chats, actually, somebody said they'd never regretted in their life being over-prepared. And I think that's an excellent philosophy. I think it was Ashley Green who managed to get a job, actually, but I think that was her that said that. Yes, that's because you're misspelling it. It's because you're misspelling it, Pernia. Amazon Interview Wiz, it's WHIZZ. So Amazon Interview Wiz, WHIZZ.com. There we go. Or just Google Amazon Interview Wiz and my stuff should come up. Ah, yes, some other people. Oh, Mike spotted that as well. Well done, Mike. Step ahead of me. Okay. Gursev, oh, okay. So you didn't pass your interview. You were told by your recruiter that you have to wait 1 year for the CSE role to reapply and 6 months for any other role. Isn't that kind of harsh on Amazon's part? 6 months should be the max. Well, look, that's just a matter of opinion, really, isn't it? I mean, the reality is, if you haven't proven that you're bar raising, then you're going to need time to go back out into the world, have new career experiences, get bar raising examples. Now, we could debate whether you can do all of that in 6 months or if you can do it in a year. Nah. Every team has their own policy. It's totally up to Amazon in terms of what they want to allow in terms of policy. So, do you know what, Gursev? Take the 6 months and go hell for leather. If you still want to apply to Amazon, just go for it. Get every single opportunity you possibly can. Amazon's going to be around forever, right? They're going to have jobs coming out of their noses, ears, and every other hole forever. So there will always be roles out there and opportunities. So how 6 months, a year in a lifetime, it's not that long. And it will give you amazing time to get those bar raising examples so that when you go back, you're going to be in a better position and more likely to be able to land that role. So we can all have an opinion on it, but it is what it is. There's no point in arguing with them or kind of kicking against it. It is what it is. So embrace it, make use of it. That would be my advice anyway. I don't think it's worth wasting the energy thinking whether it's fair or not fair. It just is. Okay, that's the philosophy of Gigi. Right. What else other questions do we have? Okay, Eunice. So how many questions should you do at the end? 1 or 2? It depends how much time you have left. I mean, ridiculous as it sounds. I would usually try and save 5 minutes at the end of an interview for questions, but you've got, I think you were 30-minute interviews, weren't you? So they might save a bit less than that because 30 minutes is not a lot. So I would actually have ready to be able to ask probably 3 questions per interviewer. And then if you only get through 2, as I was talking about before, no one ever regretted being overprepared. If you only get through 1 or 2 of them, then you only get through 1 or 2. Make sure you've prioritized which one you would prefer to be answered and go through your questions in priority order. That would be my recommendation. Okay, let's then see, what else do we have? Okay, yeah. Hey, Fernando. Definitely, this is your first time. I would definitely remember that name. Very cool name. So welcome. Thank you for joining. So if someone is called for a phone interview follow-up, does it mean she did not convince the first interviewer and needed a second opinion? No, it doesn't mean that at all. That's part of the Amazon process. So try and explain this relatively quickly because it gets super complicated. There's like a maximum number of steps in the Amazon interview process, going from online assessment through to first round interview, through to second round interview, through to final round panel, through to maybe a follow-up if the panel really, really can't decide. And then there are some spin-offs if various other scenarios happen. So, but the core end-to-end process is 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 steps. Some teams choose to miss out some of those steps. They can do that. It's completely up to them. And I cannot tell you exactly which team chooses which steps to miss out because it would be impossible to know that. And they change their minds all the time. The core, and what I would have always done as a hiring manager, would be to have 2 first rounds before I took someone to the final round. So for Fernando, I'm probably pronouncing the accent wrong on the A, so I'm really sorry. You're just going through a standard process. So what happens is the first interviewer interviews you and goes, yeah, I really believe this person is bar raising. They move you on. The next person asks you different leadership principles to check whether they feel you're bar raising on those other leadership principles, and they hopefully say yes, and then they pass you on to the final round. So no, it's not that they have doubts. It's just the process. So good luck. Fingers crossed for you. Okay. Oh, so Alicia, you would like questions, right? So you're asking me, should the questions that you ask the interviewers all be unique? That is up to you. So I do not subscribe to the philosophy that you have to ask questions that are really smart and wow the interviewer with your intellect. My view and the view of most Amazonians is that, in fact, I'd say all Amazonians, because actually the questions that you ask in interviews are not meant to be used as evidence to make a decision to pass you on or to hire you. The question time is your time. It's a safe time where you should be able to ask any question you want without judgment. The only judgment will happen is if you don't ask any questions at all, because if you're an Amazonian, you will always ask questions. So whatever questions you want to ask. So if you want to ask people exactly the same question over and over because you want a diverse set of perspectives on exactly the same data point, do that. If you want to ask different questions to different people because actually you want to be able to gather a broader set of data on different topics, do that. Entirely up to you. It's all about you. It's your time. Use it as best you feel you should to gather the data you need to make a decision as to whether that is the job that you want. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Hey, the water parrot. So you've got your first round of loop in an hour. Then tomorrow the second. You're nervous as you think you have a strong accent. Will that be taken into account? You don't have a fancy way to explain your examples. It's not about the language that you use or how you choose to articulate something. As long as you have a basic grasp, not great, but a solid grasp of the language in which you are doing the interview, because I'm not assuming that that's in English, is if you have a solid grasp of that language, as long as you can explain the concepts, it doesn't matter if you're using basic English, French, Spanish, Italian, Russian, blah, 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 whatever it is, or whether you're using the most advanced versions of those languages. No one's judging you on your vocabulary. They're judging you on your achievements. So you shouldn't worry about how sophisticated your grasp of the language is. Now, if you do have a thick accent, and this is just the reality of human beings and the challenge that exists when anybody is trying to listen to an accent that is different to their accent, there is an amount of time that your brain takes to adjust for the accent. So again, it doesn't matter what language you're speaking or what language you're interviewing in or what the nationality of the person that you're interviewing with is. Try to speak at a measured pace, because the human brain will take a couple of seconds to just be able to adjust for the accent that you have, whatever accent that is, and then hear the words that you're saying. So I know I speak English very fast, and I should try and be more cognizant of that. Thankfully, YouTube has a speed button that you can press up or down. If I'm boring you, go up. If you can't understand me, go down. Be conscious of the pace at which you speak. But again, no one's judging you for your accent. It's about your achievements and the how you went about doing the what you did. Please don't be nervous. Amazon is a global organization. People are very, very used to listening to and working with people who have very different accents to them. So don't be nervous. It's an everyday thing. Just be conscious, speak at a measured pace, and you will be fine. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, Error 404, welcome back. You did your interview last week and you have a meeting with the hiring manager tomorrow. Oh, that's interesting. So you did your loop last week and now you're having a follow-up with the hiring manager. It's interesting. Fingers crossed. Good luck. Let us know how you get on. Okay. Oh, yeah, good question, Eunice. Good question. Are the questions predetermined between the panel or they may do probing questions? No, the panel do not discuss which questions they're going to ask candidates. You get assigned a leadership principle. Everybody gets their own leadership principle assigned. You're usually assigned 2. Nobody gets assigned the same leadership principle. So you only have, let's pretend I have customer obsession and earn trust. So those are the only ones I'm allowed to ask questions on. It's then up to me to go into the Amazon interview question bank, look up the questions available on earn trust and customer obsession. There's somewhere between 9 and 15 in each of those buckets, and pick my favorite. Now, I have favorites in customer obsession and earn trust. Every Amazonian will have their favorite question for each leadership principle, sad but true, and I will pick that question. I might, if I so wish, make up one off the top of my own head, because there's absolutely nothing in the Amazon rules that says an interviewer can't make up a question for themselves. I will do that. I will decide what I want to ask the candidate. I will at no point discuss what I'm going to be asking the candidate with anybody else on the panel in advance of the interview. So I'll ask my question, and then I'm not quite sure about the second part you're asking me there, or they may do probing questions. So yes, every interviewer may do follow-up questions. We would expect every interviewer to do follow-up questions, because you'll say something and they'll want to dig into it a little bit more. But again, they don't write down what probing questions they're going to ask in advance, because they have no idea what you're going to say in advance. So you give your example, and in the moment, on the cuff, the interviewer is listening to what you're saying and thinking about what is a good probing question to ask this person, either because they've said something that interests me, or I want to learn a bit more about earn trust, seeing as I've been allocated earn trust in my fantasy world. I want to understand a little bit more about this candidate's approach to earn trust, and therefore I'll ask probing questions that are very specific about trying to gather more data on earn trust. But it's not done in advance. You can't do that because you have no idea what the candidate's going to say. Okay, I hope that was helpful. So let me just scroll back up and see if there are any other questions. Whilst I do that, I'm going to take a second to ask you to please, as I did at the start, please like the stream. It makes a massive difference to the algorithms. The algorithm, if you give it positive signals about the quality of my content by either giving it a thumbs up or writing some comments, it makes a big difference to the algorithm, which says, yeah, Gigi's pumping out some great content there. Let's surface this content to more people like the people who have just stuck their thumbs up. The YouTube algorithm sucks, man. It's so hard to break through. There is just so much trash, if you're, my opinion, obviously, that is ranking ahead of mine in YouTube, which I don't think should. So I need your help, please. So I put a lot of effort into this channel, all for free. I give it as a gift because I want to help you guys get the roles that you're looking for. But I need your help in return. I need a tiny little millisecond of your life to like my stream. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to count back down from 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to ask you to please go away and give it a thumbs up. So I've got an amazing graphic. If you were here on Wednesday, don't tell everybody else what my amazing graphic is, because you're about to see it. So let me get rid of this person's comment, right? So that you can all be amazed by my graphic. Are you ready? So 3, 2, 1, go. Please like the stream. There goes my graphic. Thumbs up. Please like the stream. You know you want to. You know I deserve it. Please. I hate the begging. It's really humiliating. Please like the stream. And if you are playing this on replay, I mean you too. You too need to like the stream. And if you're on any of my other videos, please like them as well and put in a comment. Just a little thing in return for me, from you, for the efforts that I put in. Right, begging over, humiliation over. I super hate that bit. Super hate that bit. But it seems to matter. If I don't say it, it doesn't happen. I guess you're all kind of too busy thinking about your interviews, which is fair. I get it. You know, we all really kind of focus on ourselves. That makes sense, but please. Right, okay. What other questions do we have here? Oh, Rashmi. I like that question. That's a good question. All right, Rashmi. So you had 2 interviews with the team and you have a loop coming next week. Well done. I estimate that only about 15% of people make it through to loop. That is an estimate based on my experience. So to get to loop, y'all, that is a massive achievement in unto itself. What do loop interviewers know about the candidate before the interview? Such a good question. So, Rashmi, they'll obviously have your resume. What they will also have access to is the notes from, you've had 2 interviews so far, so they will have the notes from those interviewers. Those notes will include pretty much everything that they've captured that you said in the interview, and then everything that they have documented about why it is they chose to pass you on through to the next round. So they'll definitely have access to all of that. They will also have access to your interview history earlier than that in Amazon. So if any of y'all have interviewed before in Amazon, a year ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 years ago, it will all be there in the system called Hire. Now, if you interviewed more than, I think, 7 years ago, that history won't be there because that was a system called Art, which was then deprecated and replaced by Hire, and they didn't bring everything over from the historical archive in Art into Hire. So anything longer than 7 years, it won't be there. But anything up to that point, all of those notes will be in Hire. Now, Rashmi, don't panic if I say that to you or anyone else that's interviewed many times before in Amazon. Generally, you don't have a lot of time to prep for your interview. So most interviewers aren't going to go back 5 years and look at those notes, because how useful is information that someone captured on you 5 years ago? You were in a different place, a different role, much more junior, et cetera, et cetera. So they'll probably only check back on notes that are probably 6 months to a year ago. Before that, they're probably not going to pay any attention to it. Okay, so hopefully that is helpful to you. Oh, nudge edits. Oh, it's good to see you again. Oh, and you had your day one, the first of many, many day ones at Amazon. I hope it went well. I hope you got all your onboarding stuff and you're getting yourself launched, as they say. So you are absolutely welcome. And I'm delighted. I'm really, I'm proud of you. Am I allowed to be proud of someone I don't really know? I think I am. So congrats. I'm delighted for you. Keep in touch. I'll be in touch at some point as well. So keep in touch. Okay. So are there any other questions that anybody would like to ask? We have a little bit of time left. Okay. All right, Alicia. So when does Amazon do reference checks and what are they looking for from the reference? So they'll do reference checks once you have actually accepted an offer. So they've made you the offer and you've accepted it. At that point, they'll ask you for, I think it's 3 people that you'll nominate for them to do a check on your references. What are they looking for? The basics. Would they work with you again? These are the types of questions that they ask. Like, would they hire you again? Would they work with you again? Did you impress them when you interviewed with them last time? Those are the types of things they're looking for. Reference checks don't ever really change the outcome. It's only if something really shocking comes up, like unbelievably you've given a reference and that person says, oh my God, no, they were a complete disaster, I would never employ them again. Now, hopefully you're smart enough not to give the name of someone who would say that about you. But it's only really in those instances where a reference might have a negative outcome for you. They're really just looking to dot the I's, cross the T's. You are who you say you are. You are as good as the data that they gathered on you in interview suggests that you are. So my advice is pick 3 people who you know will say good things about you. Contact those people. Tell them the types of things that you would like them to say about you and give them a sense of the type of work that you'll be doing in the role. So if they're asked questions kind of around that space, they're prepared and they can say a few nice things in that particular space. So, if it's a program management role, they can clearly say you're so well organized and you manage to get everybody on board and deliver against deadlines, those types of things. So yeah, pick good people and then brief them in advance. Hey, Mike. So what are my thoughts and experience with the Pathways program? So I have no personal experience with the Pathways program because I've never worked in Pathways, right? I was a bar raiser. So I interviewed and bar raised for a lot of people on the Pathways program. But once that happens, I wave goodbye to them and I never see them again. So I can't give you an opinion on the Pathways program. It's a huge program for Amazon, huge program in terms of getting people into the organization and then developing them up into more and more senior roles. So area manager roles are massive, then to operations, etc., etc. But I'd be lying if I could tell you that everyone that's in those programs has an amazing experience and goes on to have an extensive career, because never been in that program myself. I'd say to you, Mike, really, you might want to be reaching out to area managers and operations managers on LinkedIn and saying, I'm applying for this. I'm curious to find out. Would you share your opinion, your thoughts, and your experience? They're going to be able to give you much more specific information than I possibly could on that particular role. And that goes for any role other than marketing, because I'm a very experienced marketer. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I've just seen something that has once again got me very excited. The Mum 98 got the job and you got your offer today. So I'm very excited because I recognize the Mum 98 who has been coming to my sessions quite a lot over the past maybe 3 or 4 weeks. The Mum 98, I might be overstating, time, space is all over the place, but congratulations. I am absolutely delighted for you. And wow, yeah, great. So you got your offer today. Negotiate, right? Have a think about what the offer is. In fact, I shouldn't tell you to do that because it's wrong of me to tell you you need to negotiate. You don't need to negotiate. But if you do, RSUs, stock options, that's the place to go. Have a view of what you want and then see if you can go and get yourself that, because now the shoe is on the other foot. The Mum 98, your hiring manager, is now fantasizing about how wonderful it's going to be to have you on their team. They're going to be imagining all the amazing projects that you're going to deliver and the burden that you're going to lift off their shoulders. They're in this fantasy world. Now the shoe is on the other foot. Leverage that. I won't use the word power because that's a bit emotive, but leverage that, right? This is your strongest moment when it comes to compensation that you'll ever have in Amazon. So please make use of it. Okay. Oh, I'm so excited. The Mum 98. Okay. Yeah. Ooh. Ooh. Right. You're trying to negotiate for more stock. You don't want to be unreasonable. Is it fair to ask for double their offer? Wow, the Mum 98, kind of depends what their offer is. So it's quite hard for me to say that. But double sounds punchy, but I don't know what the offer is, so it's hard to say. So you obviously you don't want to be unreasonable. So make sure you just understand the market range for your role. And if what you're asking falls within the market range, even if it's at the top end, then that is not reasonable. If you start asking for compensation that sets you way over the top of the market range, then at that point it does become a bit unreasonable. But look at what that top limit is and go for it if that's what you want to do. Okay. Rashmi, can you give 2 references from your last company? Check with your recruiter, Rashmi. I would imagine that they would want, I think they want 3 rather than 2, but that may have changed since I was last there. And I also think that they'll ask from different employers, not from the one single role. But you check with your recruiter. They'll give you more information than I can. Okay. How do you know if you've got a senior L6 instead of an entry L6? There's no such thing. So there's an L6 or there's an L6. There's no senior, no entry or anything like that. I think what you're talking about is the band at which, where on the band you're sitting in terms of your offer. If I think you're talking about the salary, you can't possibly know that because you don't know what the salary band is for your particular role for an L6, and nobody knows that in Amazon. That is information that is held very, very tightly under lock and key. So you don't know that. The only thing you can do is, as I just suggested to the Mum 98, check out the market rates for your role in your area and then compare the offer that you have with the market rate. That's all you can do. Okay. So with all of that said, then I'm just going to whiz back up. I'm conscious of time. My tummy is a rumbling because it's dinner time here in the UK. Just going to whiz up and see if there's anything that I have missed. Okay. Just scrolling. Any more questions, please throw them in before I sign off for the day. And of course, I know I'm so childish. I know. It keeps me entertained. How else am I going to entertain myself? All right. Okay, so it doesn't look like there are any more questions from anybody. So, we got a new one here. All right, yeah. Hello, welcome from Vietnam. I'm sure you're my first person from Vietnam, or at least the first person that I know of from Vietnam, which is excellent. Malaysia, I definitely have had people from Malaysia before, but not Vietnam. So, question is about reshaping your stories to fit with the different LPs. So, practice, I think, is my advice. You also need to go and check out my actual website. I'm going to type that in now, actually. AmazonInterviewWiz.com, right? So, yeah, go and check out that website. On that website, I have a blog in my interview guide section. The blog is called AIQB. It's a whole blog about how you can use the questions that I've gathered from the web. I didn't put them in myself, just so we know this, legal people. Found them on the web. And how you can practice reshaping your examples to fit the different questions that you might be asked. It's a skill. It's a skill. I do actually demonstrate this, how you can do this, in my interview preparation masterclass. If you are an Academy member out there, I have a really good example of how I've reshaped a single story to feed into 2 different leadership principles. But it's a game of practice. You have to know what the key elements are and the behaviors that they're looking for in the leadership principles. I will give you a customer obsession one for free in a couple of seconds, so you understand what I mean by that. But there are different facets, and you have to understand what they're looking for. Once you know that, then you can start practicing how you reshape your example by leaning into the types of behaviors that they're looking for one leadership principle, or leaning into the behaviors that they're looking for in the other leadership principle. If there's one skill that I would recommend you learn, not only for Amazon, but actually for any interviews that you ever have in the future, the skill of being able to reshape an existing idea, an existing story according to the question that you're asked, is a lifetime skill that you will always get benefit from. So do that, practice, go to my website and have a look at that, and that blog should help you. Okay, Eduardo, let me just quickly do this. So did you ask this question earlier? I'm not sure if it was you talking about the illegal stuff, but okay. You have your panel tomorrow, and one question on the unreasonable request from a client, it was doing something that's illegal. Would this be an okay answer, better avoid? Look, Eduardo, I would suggest this is better to avoid, right? Because it's illegal. So there's only one answer for a client, which is no, it's illegal. So maybe you could get some earned trust stuff out of that in terms of how you explained it to the client that it was illegal, but it's a pretty binary example. And I struggle to imagine how you could give good scope and complexity about how you dealt with that situation, because it's illegal. And Amazon are very, very clear on how they feel about legality and illegality when it comes to the type of people that they hire. I've always found, yes, I'm going to make this statement. Actually, this is a bold statement. I think in every single interview I've ever done where a candidate talked about something that was illegal, they have not been hired. Not because they were held accountable for it or anything like that, but it's really difficult not to suggest behaviors that might be red flags to Amazon when you talk about things that are illegal. So just don't go there, is my advice. Don't go there. Again, other than if you are in legal and that is your job to explain to people in your organization what's legal or not legal, I always think that this is really, really dangerous territory for anybody who's not in a legal or compliance type role. That's my personal opinion. Do with it what you will. It is not a policy. It is simply based on my experience of interviewing at Amazon. All right, so we are now at time. So I need to give you the most amazing free offer on YouTube for Amazon interviews. Please go to AmazonInterviewWizAcademy.com. This is a different website to the one I just posted in the chat. This is where I house my digital course There you can get yourself my Customer Obsession Leadership Principle Masterclass totally for free. I give that one away for free because I want you to love my content and buy more, obviously. But I give the Customer Obsession one because if you make it through the whole interview process at Amazon, I would bet my bottom dollar that you will be asked Customer Obsession, because Amazon is Earth's most customer-centric company. So please go and get that. I promise you it will just tell you everything you need to know about Customer Obsession. It will teach you about those 4 different facets that I talked to you about earlier. It will tell you pretty much exactly what your interview is looking for in your answers. And also there's a little mock interview, me interviewing me. So you can see how this all comes together in a mock interview. So I don't do chaser emails. I won't be trying to upsell you anything if you go and get that. So please go and get that totally free. Enjoy it. I hope it helps you. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to sign off for today. Thank you very much for joining. I will be back again on Wednesday, and I am planning on having a much more impressive graphic than this. So, you know, you want to come back for that. For those of you who have got roles, congrats. I'm so delighted for you. For those of you who have interviews coming up, I wish you the very best of luck. Please, please, as I said, just like this stream for me. And if you do watch any of my other videos, please do comment and like them as well. If you have questions, then I generally am able to respond within about 24 hours. So just bang them into the appropriate video on YouTube, put a question in there, and I will attempt to respond to it. So until then, I say this every time. I've been saying this for a year, hoping that every time I say it, it's the last time. The world is still insane out there. So please look after yourselves and look after your families. And I will hopefully see you again on Wednesday. Take care, everyone. Be safe. Bye-bye.